Welcome to this presentation, but first a note from our sponsor, weare.xyz, the family archive builder. Oh, that's me. This presentation will use my family archive built on weare.xyz. So if you like what you see, please do give it a go. And now, on with the show.
Hi everyone, I just want to introduce Kevin the drone. He's going to be taking us on a little journey. Bye Kevin.
Okay, well, before we look at some actual drone footage, let's just talk a little bit about the drone itself. So Kevin will fly for about 20 minutes, maybe a bit more, really restricted by the battery. I can fly him up to about 3 miles in that time. He would go further, but I need to get him back. And if he goes out of range, he will automatically ascend to 100 meters and find his own way home, which is pretty amazing. He can go at a stonking 50 kilometers an hour if you push him. He can sit in a geostationary position. He hovers on the spot when you take your fingers off the controls, which makes him incredibly easy to use. You use an app on your smartphone attached to the controller, and that gives you your bird's eye view through the actual phone screen. And of course, it has a camera and 4K video capability. And because it has a camera, you do need a flyer ID and an operator ID, although these are fairly straightforward to come by. So why use a drone? Well, you can see a place in the context of its locality, its environment. For me, the thing I particularly enjoy is actually getting a sense of the ancestral area and imagining the comings and goings of people as you look into all the lanes and paths below you. And you can also look for actual traces of our ancestors, your ancestors. And then finally, the product is much more engaging for relatives, what you produce at the end of it. And frankly, it's fun. Okay, well, now let's look at some actual drone footage. I'm here in my family's archive, which is called If I Was a Tree. Now, I want to look at a location that was owned by the Poole family. So I'm going up here to the families menu. It shows all the surnames I'm descended from. On the left, paternal, on the right, maternal. But I want here Poole family. I'm going to click on that, and I go to the Poole family section. And it shows how I'm connected into the Poole family by my grandmother here, Eilif. And within places connected to the Poole family, myself and relatives have been adding various locations, and this one, Trefnani Bank, I've researched and made a record. Here it is, nestling into this low-lying countryside that runs down to the River Severn, just inside Montgomeryshire. And I first came across Trefnani Bank in a pocketbook owned by my grandmother that she showed me when I was young. And just as background, I'm going to open the pocketbook because it really is a beautiful piece, and just say a bit about that. It was owned by a J. Poole, and you'll see from the inside cover, it was a commercial pocketbook. It just got ledgers in it, and there's a J. Poole has written his name there. And what J. Poole and a few descendants have done over the years is add family history research notes. It's absolutely captivating and really just got me going, exploring everything that's within it. And this is where I came across this entry, Trefnani Farm, at the bottom. After great-grandfather's death, this widow kept up the dislike to eldest son Geoffrey for marrying against wishes. She sold £600 worth of timber off the estate, and every available bit of stock left the house in ruins. Oh, that was a bit miserable, wasn't it? So, as you can imagine, I really wanted to find out where this was. I imagined it as a stone cottage on a bleak Welsh mountainside, but as you can see, it wasn't like that. And it's a bit more history about it is given in the booklet or the pocket book. It says here that this miserable father, my 5 times great-grandfather, inherited it from his cousin, which must have been very nice for him. Apparently he had 5 farms, all in all, none of which we have today, I might add. But he obviously was a man of means in his day, but left nothing to this eldest son, my 4 times great-grandfather. And here I've constructed a tree using the archives tree builder that shows how they all lead down to my grandmother that I mentioned. Okay, now let's go and have a look at the drone footage. So I just click here and I'm going to press play. I'll put it full screen. Now, this video, what I've done is at the driveway leading up to the farmhouse, there's this church or chapel called Penrose Church. And this is where the two characters we mentioned and several others are buried. There are plenty of my ancestors in this cemetery or graveyard. And armed with the monumental inscriptions guide for the provided by the Montgomeryshire Genealogical Society, a fantastic booklet, we were able to locate some 4 generations of pools in this graveyard. Some of the graves, or one of them in particular, was actually totally covered in earth, now as in grass rather. So I've built into the video some background on the chapel, and on the right that is the gravestone with the 4 times great grandfather, and then on the top left is his son and his wife below that, and then there was a tomb which had 3 of their infant children on it. And this is the priceless map provided by the society that allowed me to locate those graves, and in one case actually excavate to reveal it. Now we're on board with Kevin. Kevin's had a look at the cemetery and he's now making for Trefnanny Bank. And what we see unfolding beneath us are largely unchanged pastures that would have been there in my great grandparents' time. And the driveway is on the right, and actually you can just see down here the owners clip-flopping along on a pony. They're a fabulous welcoming family, and we went to visit them, and they showed us around. So here you can see the wonderfully ramshackle farmhouse and its surrounding buildings, and this is where we went to visit them. I'll do a bit of fast forwarding because in a minute Kevin will take off again. So we took Kevin with us, sent him up, and he starts off looking at this fabulous panoramic view towards the River Severn. It was in flood, and those areas up the top left there, that's actually the floodwaters. That's the village of Sarney, where some other ancestors live. And as we back away from the farmhouse, these fields, these hedge lines, are almost amazingly similar, the same as they were on the tithe maps back in 1840. I've just built into the video the pocketbook, because this is something that I've shared with my family, and it was a great way for them to enjoy digging deeper into what this place Trefnanny Bank is and was. Excuse me, frog in the throat. Right, so if I go back to the piece that I've written on Trefnanny Bank, I just want to show you the tithe. Well, actually, first of all, that's the tomb of 4 times great grandfather with my father, me, and my son. So quite a poignant photograph of 4 generations with a bit of a missing gap between us and 1844. But down here, you can see tide map on the left, satellite picture on the right. And if you pause, you can probably take time to look at the similarities in the hedgerows. I'll just expand that so we can have a closer look. And then I'll expand the satellite image so you can have a closer look at that if you want to pause. But just looking at them side by side, you can already see that, look up there, that area, that triangle, exactly the same here. The next 2 fields have been merged into one, and so on and so on. It's just incredible to realize that that's where these ancestors would have walked up and down these hedgerows. And that to me is part of the magic of what a drone will do, and I can do for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second example. Let's go back to the home screen, something of much more recent times. So this is now looking to my childhood. And I have the special location, special to our family, called the obelisk. And this is a monument in the village of my birth. I'll go down and find a bigger picture of it. There it is. This is the obelisk, or the Whale Memorial, named after Gregory Whale, who it commemorates, and that's my son walking away from it. And centuries of children have been clambering over this. That's myself and my brother on the left here, wearing a snake belt from the 70s, if anyone remembers those. And here we are, obviously a bit later. Here are my children on it. And here are some children from during the Second World War. It really has been used as a climbing frame through the last almost 300 years. And that's the memorial put there by basically there were two friends who used to meet on this spot. This Gregory Whale, he was the sort of lord of the manor in two of the neighbouring villages, and they agreed between them that whoever died first, the other would put up a memorial. So obviously Gregory died first, and he got his memorial. So I did a drone flight, and this drone flight is really about, well, just celebrating this object location and showing where it fits into the landscape. So let's press play. Let's expand it to full screen. So this is the video, and there is the obelisk. And what I love, inadvertently, I've captured these children who are showing us the ancient art of how you clamber up the obelisk. Look, there they go. Oh, did she make it? No, she didn't. Oh, that just reminds me of my childhood. You'd scramble up there, and you'd finally get to the age where you could just about grip on, like that lad has just down there. Although we didn't have mobile phone masks like you see there in my day. Those woods actually cover up an old lime kiln area. That's the village of Harston in the distance. And then round to Hawkston village, the M11, which was built after my time. And then the village of Little Shelford, where I was born. And we moved away in 1978. And the last thing we did before we headed off in the car to our new life was climb what we called the Ding Dong as children, the Whale Memorial Obelisk. And it's just scanning back over, you can see the outlines of where the lime kiln pits were. There's a story from the 1800s or a newspaper cutting of the father and son who fell into them, only for their bodies to be dragged out by a policeman. So coming back down to land, looking at the lovely obelisk for one last time. So I've given you two examples here of how you can use a drone to really add color to your family history. Maybe you'll decide to use them, maybe you won't. Obviously, they're much, you really need to have rural locations for them. You do need to be sensitive to people's privacy, but I really do feel that they add an added dimension, and certainly my family and relatives have appreciated it. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.